In the northeast sea of Nova Scotia, the vital shipping lane between two important coastal trade hubs is infamous for its unpredictable tides, inclement weather, and hundreds of lives it has claimed over the past century. This major landmark, ensuring the safe passage of vessels through the treacherous strait, is a small stone lighthouse that sits on an island of razor-sharp rocks. Rocks which at low tide extend out for several miles just under the surface. An old master mariner from the mainland loads his vessel with 3 months of supplies with Samuel, the new lighthouse keeper who will be going to the island. "What happened to the last lighthouse keeper?" inquired Samuel. "He quit," replied the mariner. "Not many stay long. They can't handle it." "They can't handle being alone?" Samuel was confused. Grunted the mariner. "That won't be an issue for me. I'm really looking forward to the isolation." They set off as the evening set in and the lighthouse lit up, its brilliant beam cutting through the night air like a freshly sharpened and polished blade. "I thought there was no caretaker there at the moment," queried Samuel. "There isn't. The light is on an automatic timer," the mariner explained. "And how is it powered?" he inquired further. "There's a powerhouse on the furthermost point of the island. Only go to it when the light goes out." "Why not at any other time?" "Too many questions. Quiet now. I need to focus," said the mariner. The mariner set the man ashore with the supplies at a small jetty and began to cast off. Samuel shouted out, "Wait! Aren't you coming ashore?" "No. I never set foot on the island." "But why?" he shouted. But it was too late. The mariner had already sailed out of earshot. Samuel entered the lighthouse, stored his supplies, and then climbed the 100 steps to the top. It was a fantastic display of turn-of-the-century engineering. Huge industrial bulbs burned with incredible intensity behind massive Fresnel lenses, resulting in an amazing beam of light that pierced the sky around it for miles. After further familiarizing himself with the lighthouse, its operation, and the maintenance manuals, Samuel decided to call it a night. He was exhausted, but excited about this new chapter in his life, away from the stress and pressures of the city, and to finally be alone, where no one could bother him. During the night, he was suddenly awoken by the sounds of deep moaning and frightening howling getting louder. The sound was too deep to be the wind, so he got up and peered cautiously out his window. To his surprise, dozens of ghosts, men, women, and children were all hovering around the powerhouse at the far point of the island. Samuel rubbed his eyes and stared out in disbelief. They were all still there, and all still making an incredibly disturbing cacophony. Unable to pull himself away from the window, he stared at them throughout the night, terrified they would come closer. However, they didn't, and as the sun rose, they faded away into the daylight. This continued for several weeks. The sun would set, and the ghosts would hover. Samuel had lost an incredible amount of sleep over this, but he had since realized that they never ventured further than the surrounds of the powerhouse. This didn't reassure him in any way. He was always on edge. What tipped him over, though, was the evening when far off into the distance a huge cruise ship had entered the treacherous strait. It was by far the biggest ship he had ever seen. Suddenly, as he watched it crawl through the water like a massive streamlined beast, the vital bright light behind him died, and he watched on in terror as it turned, trying to navigate the narrow passage, having made a course for the lighthouse, guaranteed to tear its hull to shreds on the jagged rocks below. The terror of what was about to occur raced through his mind. Hundreds of people were about to die. He had to restore the power, which meant entering the powerhouse that was surrounded by dozens of tortured spirits. The psychological battle that ensued next within his exhausted mind nearly broke him. He was terrified of heading to the far end of the island, and had to muster every courageous element of his being to convince himself that they were only ghosts, mere apparitions, and unable to harm him in any way. He exited the lighthouse and made his way towards the Powerhouse, his flashlight in one hand and large toolbox in the other. He walked through the swarming cluster of spirits, and although loud and unsettling, they left him unharmed and able to access the Powerhouse. However, as he opened the door, they pushed him in, and once inside, it lit up like an oil-fired furnace. In fact, as if it was the fires of hell. The lighthouse came back to life, and the cruise ship immediately altered its course to safety. And then, one of the spirits ascended and slowly dissolved into the night, only to be replaced by Samuel. From the shore, the old master mariner who had been watching the lighthouse sighed as he watched it come back on. He then made a call to the local newspaper, once again placing an advertisement for yet another lighthouse keeper.